And I encourage everyone to say hello in the chat, ask questions. I'll try to get to those in real time during the presentation and have a few minutes at the end because I love to chat about this stuff. So you don't want to see me. Let me let me share my screen, and we shall begin. I am Terrence Masson. Hopefully everyone can see the screen. Excellent. So I'm here to talk about a preservation of digital culture, and it's been really great to see some other talks in the last couple of days that touch on this, and it's specifically the people behind the pixels. That is my passion, that I love. I love people and stories. There's plenty of great work, like we just saw, to archive the work itself, the technology, and that's not something I'm attempting to do myself. So first, a great thanks to the Computer Arts Society, EVA London, to Jonathan, Graham, and the co-chairs and the rest of the committee for inviting me to talk today. It's a great privilege. We have an alumni here from MFA in the chat, I see. So thank you very much. I hope this is going to be as fun for you as it is for me. So what I wanted to talk about is 2 minutes of my background, just to give you context. I am an educator, have been an educator for more than a dozen years now, but an artist since before I could talk. I've had a lot of different jobs in 30 years, spanning lots of different digital media, lots of different pixel types. And of course, my most important job is at the bottom of that list at the bottom, father. So I got my start with live action visual effects and a lot of feature films. Some of these aren't that great. It's not my fault. The work was fantastic. But my theme is the people that I got to work with were just incredible. So lots of video game work, lots of short animated film, feature animated film that I had a chance to work on, including this thing, which I'm told is still on the air, South Park. I got that started all by myself with Matt and Trey back in '96. And again, the personalities were just were pretty wild. But the anecdote that I like to share that really is just awe-inspiring with all these projects and all these kind of peoples and industries that I've had a chance to work in is many of the original founders in our fields, our related STEAM fields, are still very much alive and active and working today. And the analogy I like to tell is if you were working in the aerospace industry or aeronautics, and the Wright brothers were still alive and maybe in their 80s, and you could talk to them and ask them about, so what was it like to come up with this whole concept of a pixel and movement and programming for creativity and things like that. So we really, this decade, a lot of our founding fathers and friends and mothers are getting on in age, and we want to talk to them and hear about the beginnings of our industry that they started. So I am currently at the School of Visual Arts in New York, and anyone who comes to New York City, please come and visit. I would love to have you in New York City at SVA, as I hope to be in London next summer. It's my first next planned international trip, no matter what. So the MFA Computer Arts Department is now 35 years old. I took over from Bruce Wands at its 30th anniversary. And our international students, which are about 70%, it's a 2-year MFA program, and their international cultures come and they're able to tell those, we help them tell those stories in so many beautiful ways. So as a parent and an educator, I just have it, you can probably tell, I hope, I have an insatiable curiosity, and I try to instill that in all my students and kids of all ages. So this preservation of digital culture, I want to reach out to you about, really comes from just this snippet of learning objectives, this lifelong learning that starts with history, leads to the present, and off to the future with all of us who are educators, right, to tell our students. And all of this, it all reinforces collaboration, which, as we know, is so critical. Many of these endeavors are singular artistic achievements, but many are not, especially filmmaking and larger projects. The creative industries, which is a term that's so well embraced everywhere except the United States, to cover STEAM fields of all kinds. So it's very inclusive when I say computer graphics and these preservations. International influence, of course, and this new normal of COVID brings us together in ways like this. So there are some benefits to Zoom, I think, that we can all agree. And specifically the international influence, I'm very, very grateful. Speaking tours and work has brought me, each one of these little orange pins is where I've been to. I've either lived or visited or taught or spoke. I'm very embarrassed to say I haven't been to Africa yet. It's on my major bucket list. So I encourage you all to travel and as part of the storytelling. So that's my preamble to say where I've come from and what I think is important and why. So the people behind the pixels, specifically the history of computer graphics, is this project. It's just my personal passion project. I want to reach out, share it, and then employ you to share your own stories. It really started 20 years ago when I wrote a book and then had a second edition, a Japanese edition. And anyone who wants it, I'll gladly send you a copy for free. Send to your students and anyone you know that teaches. And that was basically interviewing founders of these research institutions, Albert Ray Smith and Ed Catmull and Jim Blinn and all these wonderful people that Paul Brown in the UK and Japanese researchers. And it really got me connected with, again, the mentors and founders of our entire industry, one-on-one. And I've been able to cultivate them as friends. Leading up to a few years after that, when I was asked to be the full conference chair for SIGGRAPH in 2010, that's when this phrase, the people behind the pixels, was kind of pushed out internationally, I guess. And it seemed to resonate with folks. Because again, there's so much amazing work done with archiving and working with technology and media and sources. But for me, and this is all about the people and the stories that are up in everyone's brains. So that was an incredible honor, great opportunity, again, to interact with all my friends and colleagues internationally. And now on the history committee for SIGGRAPH, we're looking for your ideas. So anyone with ideas about history in general, about computer graphics, art, animation, please just go to SIGGRAPH50.world and just send in your ideas. We're only 2 years away from 2023, which is the 50th anniversary conference, which is hard to believe, but please send those in. So instead of a third edition of my book, what I wanted to do was put it online. There was just so much to tell, so many stories to tell, such fast iteration as we know, in the technology, just the hardware and software alone, that I wanted to make a wiki of sorts and have anyone be able to create a login and put in your own stories. So this is basically the core of my presentation today is about this tool that's open to the world to get stories to share. So the idea is, and I'll just have a few slides and then I'll walk through it live, is to be a simple wiki of sorts so that we can talk about projects, people, organizations, and events. And it's all color-coded driven. The idea is, you know, a nice neutral gray background, and each color means something. So anything that's green is an organization. Anything that's blue is people. So I'm going to go to that live. Hopefully this will show. So this is the live site, and anyone can go. It's just historyofcg.com. And the idea is it should be fun and exploratory. And so it's an interactive timeline, meaning if we just want to look at, say, between 1970 and 1980, we can just restrict the timeline here, and that'll update. So all here, and if you see a little icon at the top, that means there's a lot more entries than I've got stackable. And these are just the most recently updated one. You can search, you can click on something. Like here, we'll go to, there's Digital Pictures, which is a company you're all very familiar with. We'll click on that. And then the timeline updates to elements that are directly related to this entry with keynotes. And this is the fun part. So as you want to explore, to enter your own data, again, it's about preserving these stories from you. You can just surf around, and the idea is that everything is interconnected. All of us are connected to each other. You know, it's an international society. So if you say, oh, I know this guy, Paul is a friend of mine. I didn't know. Oh yeah, Digital Pictures. Oh, we co-founded it. No kidding. So you click on something, a tile, and this is the infinite search, basically, that you never run out of time exploring. So you can see that, oh, cybernetic serendipity, fantastic. And all of these areas will be populated by stories, images, video clips that are submitted by people. This isn't meant to be a repository in a sense of like the Babbage Institute or Victoria and Albert Museum, not for archiving things, but this is just for sharing work. So, oh look, Computer Art Society had something to do with the cybernetic serendipity. And we all remember John very, very fondly. And we look for, if you want to look at, say, just events related to the Computer Art Society, for instance, we click on purple, and that'll filter everything out, all these tiles, or not, with additional tags you see that will show up if you want. But, oh, we want to definitely find out about EVA London. Absolutely. So we can click on that and, you know, ad infinitum, basically. But what I wanted to do, maybe with Graham's help, is we can go back to Computer Art Society and just show you how easy this is. So I'm already logged in, but basically, I'm glad you brought up a great example, Graham, of event one. So if we wanted to add an entry, I just click up here at the top, and this is just the interface. So event one was, again, 4 different types of entries in the People Beyond the Pixels. This was an event, right? And we'll call it event one. And you can add any number of tags. You can call it a conference, certainly pioneering. And these are all tags that will be searchable later, of course, right?
Sure.
Digital art, etc. And then a description. We will have Graham.
Something like the first digital art exhibition in any English higher education establishment or education establishment, something like that.
Right. So we'll have you get
at the Royal College of Art.
At the and this is going live, so anyone who's at the site now can refresh their page when this is published, and see it. So we'll come back to this later. So obviously, here we are. So we'll just put London for now. So you can see, and what date was this? Was this 68?
1969.
69, okay, so we'll just pick the 69. It needs some kind of date. I'll just put Was that maybe June or July?
Yeah, it was yes, somewhere around there. Yeah, summer.
Summer. We'll put July 1st.
Well, pick June or July. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just submit it, and the nice thing about this is that you can share stories and connect entries. So, we'll definitely connect this with the Computer Art Society, and these connections are what basically list on each other's pages. So I've just connected this entry here, right? We'll connect, EVA London, connect that. So if I just publish this now, it'll be live to everyone. I can view the entry, and it's very sparse. Obviously, what we want to do is get each of these really, really important events populated. Again, I realize it's I don't want to say it's not superficial in the sense that it should be fun. It should be just a tease to get people aware of the interactions and the connections of all these people and events and places and things, to then do proper research, and I'll talk about some of those resources later. Again, I mentioned like the Victoria and Albert Museum, but a page just that comes to mind that I've put quite a few entries in, as you can imagine, is Pixar. So it's taking a while for its timeline to expand, but so this is what a typical flushed out page will look like, right? So if I wanted to say, oh, that's a whole bunch of stuff, let me just look. I just want to be see about the people involved in Pixar. So we'll click the blue and kind of narrow it down. And okay, I want to learn about Albie. We'll click on him. Oh, and anyone who can fly to the Bay Area, I think it's August 6th is the book signing of Albie's brand new book. So he's having a special event. So that is what I wanted to show you all, and talk about how it's so critical to share the history of our own lives. Some of it is self-serving for those of you who have important careers. And I talked with Ivan Sutherland a while ago for my book, and the first thing that he said was, I can't believe anybody's still interested in this computer graphics stuff. Of course, he'd been doing it since 1960 or something, right? So it may not occur to some people how rare and precious and special your stories are, and they're only in people's heads. That they might not be written down, or that you haven't been interviewed yet. And our mentors, and we're all storytellers when we do art, so we need stories to do that. So let me go back. Right. So basically, my reason for talking today is to ask you all to tell your stories. So either send them to me, log in and create your own with the historyofcg.com. I'll share a few. Just what came to mind is the most important resources, especially relative to our audience today. The Computer Art Society, again, is such an amazing resource. This cache project, which I'm only recently learning about, sounds quite comprehensive. And again, all the collections being brought together at and by the Victoria and Albert Museum is just so incredible. And I can't wait to hopefully see some in person next summer when I go. But I came across this other incredible resource, 200 some odd pages that Grant wrote. I don't know Grant personally, but I have not read all 200 pages yet. But it seems like quite a wonderful write-up. And again, my own book, I've got print copies if anybody wants. I'll bring a couple of cases next summer and give them out to teachers and students, whoever want them. But I did want to finish early to be able to talk to people and to answer some questions and talk. I love to hear your own stories. Graham, you can help facilitate if you want. I'm looking at the chat window here.
Yep.
But thank you again. I really look forward to all the other talks. I saw a number yesterday and this morning, and they're really wonderful.
Yeah, well, I think this fascinating the way you're collating all of this stuff. You know, it's a lot of it is that if you're not careful, everything is sort of fragmented and it's all over the planet, and there's different people doing things, and bringing it all together in one place where someone can get an overview, either in time scale or in by culture or by country, or simply people who mess up accidentally and what happened next and things like that, I think is probably the fascinating narrative. But really super.
Well,
So